So hi everybody, my name's Leon Avery. I'm from 8x8, and we're here today to talk to you a little bit about the changes that we're all making within consumer behavior and how that's impacting the way that we engage with different kinds of formats. So I just wanted to introduce Saumyadeep from MoEngage. That's a very fun name.
MoEngage, yes. We get a lot of variations, and it's a great conversation starter. But if I may tell you a bit of history, MoEngage is actually more than 30-year-old brand. It was launched in 1993 in LA, California, by two people. So it's a named partnership, Tracy Wong and Pat Doody. Tracy Wong is still our executive chairman. It was established within the advertising and brand world over 20 plus years. We got a big name in the advertising, branding, and key design credentials. 2018 is when Infosys, which is a global tech powerhouse, acquired this business. And over these years down to now, we are basically a business that focuses in brand advertising, marketing, experience design, and immersive experience skill sets. We are spread across the globe with a workforce of over 2,000 folks, with more than 22 studios around the globe, 3 of which are in Australia right here. I'm based in Sydney, and we have teams across the country. So that's a bit about MoEngage. But please, similarly, tell me a bit about 8x8 as well.
Okay, yeah, not quite as fun a name as MoEngage, I must say. But 8x8, we're a tech company. We were founded in the 80s, and we're based out of Silicon Valley. In the 90s, we actually transitioned into video conferencing. And so 8x8 refers to the number of pixels or dots of light that are used in the basic foundation building blocks of video compression or video transformation. And being sort of leaders in video, we own Jitsi, if you've heard of Jitsi. We acquired that from Atlassian, so we're obviously a very big video business. So just going back to the topic today, innovations in cross-channel customer engagement. I just wanted to have a bit of a chat with you, Saumya, around what do we think is really changing that, in terms of the consumer behavior that sits behind how consumers and how we as consumers engage with each other. So one of the biggest changes, I think, in human behavior, if I just jump in first, I think has been our addiction to our phones. The average Australian is spending 5.5 hours per day looking at their phones. And even as I talk to you now, I'm sure many of you are looking at your phones. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're watching TV, we're listening to radio, we're doing all these kinds of things while we're watching our phones. And Gen Z and Gen Alpha, if you call them, there's a bit of a joke that if you call them, like, who died? Why are you calling me? I don't want to talk to you. I just want to message you. So thinking about that, Saumya, how have you seen that working with customers that you've worked with end to end? And are we doing enough to really engage with people in that conversational way, in their preferred methods, knowing that, this is only increasing? RCS is going to be released and be Android and iPhone friendly in the new iOS that's coming out shortly. So do you think we're doing enough?
We are doing enough, but we'll be doing a lot more, actually. This is really fundamental to how our behavior itself has changed, across generations. As human beings, we are social animals, but it's just how we used to love to engage, still do that, but how we want to do it now is just evolving. We've already talked about this. Digital content, mobile-first behavior is here. I won't go into details of any of that. What I would talk about is, is the avenues of these moments that we need to capture as businesses. I mean, I still remember, early days, more than 5 years now, but generally the change where small kids would just look at a screen, any screen, even on a television, and their first reaction would be to go and try and tap that. So from there on to today, whether we are consuming content, just as text, as audio, as visual, it's all evolved. It's all coming to you in the form of what we call snackable content. It has to be quick, fast, enticing, or the engaging audience moves on. Just from the sense of, I was reading this morning, and one of the key things I saw was how the landscape of music itself has changed. If you think about it, popular culture music is just becoming, not the traditional 4 or 5 minute, but it's come down to like 1.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes. The Grammys had a check where they said that over 25% of their nominations are all under 2.5 minutes, of audio. It's amazing to just think how all that connects to how we are actually engaging. And of course, we can say that we are really looking at a generation, whether we talk about Gen Alpha or the Beta that's going to come next. We really have to consider all of that as brands to really assess that, we have talked about personalization a lot today, but ultimately, yes, we still need to be able to personalize and actually not just give our users, our end audience what they're looking for, but start predicting and preparing for what they might want next and have it already ready and build that connection in the channel that works for them. Otherwise, they'll be long gone and you have lost the small window of connecting with them. This is obviously seen very well in what we just call the rise of user-generated content. At the end of the day, the old school basic nature of us as humans has not changed. We want to express ourselves, and over the years, what has happened is essentially, anything that used to become a barrier to that expression, you need to work with large media houses, no offense to anyone in this room, or if you just had to go through some loopholes to be able to get to a way of getting your self-expression in terms of audio or visual out there to a larger audience. That landscape has evolved tremendously. That's where you have these new platforms who are looking to basically bridge that gap, and now you have what you have on your phones. And I must say that at the end of the day, because everyone now has that phone in their pockets, in their hands, in front of them all the time, you're now looking at a world where earlier you were looking to pick channels and then find ways to engage with them. Now it's all right here in your hands, and you're already fighting, or businesses are fighting for a small portion of that attention within your hands and within your pockets.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think in terms of the fact that, what are we doing on our phones with all that screen time? We're on social media, we're looking at user-generated content because ultimately we have that same need to connect as humans, right? So that's why it's so popular. But the other thing that we're doing is messaging. And I think there's an opportunity when we think about brands and businesses in terms of how we engage with consumers. If you think about email, for example, it's still one of the biggest ways that we target consumers. But if you think about how many emails you didn't open in the last 24 hours, assuming that they made it through all of the filtering technology to your inbox that you didn't open in the last 24 hours.
Don't even have a count,
It'd be huge, right?
Yeah.
Whereas how many SMS messages, for example, have you not opened? How many unopened SMSs are on your phone?
None. I have read each and every one of them.
Every one. So that's like 100% read rate, right? And if you think about the fact that the average industry read rate for SMS as a channel, for example, is 98% are read within 3 minutes, it really goes to show you that engaging with people in their preferred channels where they're already spending their time is really, really key. And when you think about WhatsApp, for example, that's a rich format which allows you to, I guess, embed things like video, richer formats into those channels more so than you could do with static kinds of, templates. And I don't think that we're really getting in there as much as we could, and people think it's, I guess there's a real opportunity, and I know you're working a lot within that space. Have you come across that quite a lot?
Absolutely. Again, connecting with the topic, right? We want to constantly assess the power of cross-channel engagement. The engagement itself evolving from traditional to what we call digital, offline to online behavior. Many things have already been tried out, early days. Even now you have QR code engagement. You set up things in a manner that you kind of direct that traffic. Outdoor advertising, geotagging, a lot of those conversations also happen in this room. But absolutely, within this space, I heard in the room, an interesting debate or insights around events, and it made me think about fans. Fan engagement is a very clear way in which, businesses who are involved in this space look for a way to keep their audience, keep their end users or customers engaged. And this happens across an entire, a journey of before an event, during an event, after an event. It connects with their emotions, it connects with their needs at the time. We are heavily involved with the likes of Australian Open and Formula One in here, just to be able to plan and orchestrate and then assess if that experience is being uplifted in a certain manner, if certain key aspects of demographical needs are being met. All in all, and all the time also looking at the return of any investments. All that starts playing together across this cross-channel kind of experience. Because again, at the basic level, whether we talk about messages as a channel, whether we talk about emails or other things, we want to connect, but we also, do not want to be feeling like there's an intrusive way of connecting with us. We want to protect our levels of privacy. We are concerned about our data, and all that thinking starts coming in. And this is where technology comes as a key enabler to be able to decipher which parts need that, to what level, for which audience, and then test and evaluate those parameters. You mentioned video, so that's an interesting, area, field of play here. Specific to Australia, if you think about it, video usage is obviously on the rise. Almost everyone here must know about it. It's also specifically on the rise for the younger generation, and that's a key metric because you are looking at your potential, customers of tomorrow, their behaviors, their needs. The purchasing power is what I'm talking about. And if you want to connect as part of your business goal, as part of your, whatever your means are, you are looking for a way to connect with them, and a representation of a medium, a tool like video, which is emotional, which is not exactly transactional, but more conversational. That's what is really out there. And any conversations with any of our customers, it doesn't matter which line of business. We could be talking finance, banking, insurance, retail, or media here. We are all humans at the end of the day. We are all consumers of some products or some experience that we are looking for. If you have a bad experience for a very small engagement, it may cost you $1, but you may never look back at that business again. And that's the repercussion we want to think about up front before we start thinking about, okay, here's what might work or whatnot. And yeah, so video as well is a key element to balancing that experience.
Yeah, and I mean, particularly as we kind of accelerated into a digital world recently with everything that happened, and now we've sort of started to reject, I guess, that a little bit and want to get back into sort of physical environments. And I think video is a really interesting way to blend the physical experiences in retail, for example, with digital. And we have some people doing some really innovative things with people who have shopkeepers and retail assistants using tablets in store so that people can start a video call. They might go in store and you can show the product and all that sort of stuff. So video seems to be a really good medium, and obviously 82.5% of internet traffic at the moment is actually video, so really, really huge. But live video and actually starting to engage with people in those conversational ways is how we're actually starting to see that blend between physical and digital, which is a really interesting space. But I know we're kind of keeping everybody from their dinner, so we won't go on for too long. But I just wanted to know, from your experience working with customers end to end, from a brand design strategy perspective, what are your sort of top tips when implementing new channels like video or conversational formats like WhatsApp or SMS?
Sure. It's also interesting because some of the comments I heard and specific problems that certain key businesses might be facing are very similar. As the more I was hearing, the more I was thinking about the kind of conversations I have specifically in the space of, okay, how do we connect, or what's the best way to kind of figure out whether a certain channel or a tool or a specific tryout on an AI space would work for us or not. And whether we are looking at cross-channel, experience, or whether we're looking at specific channel and what to do around it, we have a key, pathway to it. As MoEngage, we have a process, what we call basically setting the hierarchy of moments. Now, in its core, it really goes from a 3-tiered layer of initially what we call setting up the basics, or set yourselves for brilliant basics. We have actually talked about this earlier in the room, so it connects very well. Everyone must have a certain sense, any business must have a certain sense of what they've got going. But at the core, it's about setting the basics right so that you have that non-friction conversation and engagement starting with your end customers. As you transcend through that, the next level is creating moments of matter. This is where the conversation of personalization and predictive analysis comes in. But really, this is where you kind of providing more of that service, of that experience, and basically getting your audience, your consumers to build trust. At the end of the day, that's key for any extended, repeatable business model, for any ability to kind of continue to engage. You will need that. But the best part is, as you transcend through that, if you've really done it well, the final one is what we refer to as iconic moments. This is where your, let's say, audience or customers are not exactly thinking of you as a consideration point, but actually are at a level of demand. all of you must be using, I'm using as an example, you must be using the services of Amazon. There are so many ways in which you wouldn't even think of a different or a second or another kind of, vendor business before you consider. You'd rather go with a need. You're already thinking intrinsically, even if you're not realizing it, I want this from an Amazon or another such brand. My point is that's where your consumers, you have built that level of trust, and you're at that level that you're now looking at a way of being a part of their life. And it's very thin line between just a business or at a personal space, but you're actually able to still transact in a very conversational, personal, and immersible manner. So that's basically the pathway with which we obviously work with all our customers. It's a great way to actually set up what is our specific vision and how do we plan that. And we can do that by setting, obviously, certain North Star key focus areas, and then go from there.
I think they're really good takeaways. Thanks very much, Saumya. It was great to have you speak with us today. Thank you to MoEngage. Thank you to Michael for having us here. It's been great. The whole 8x8 team is in the back left corner there. And we've got people here from Melbourne and Sydney and Singapore. So please stay and have some dinner and drinks. And we look forward to chatting with everybody. And over to you, Michael.
Likewise. Thank you.